Hello, and welcome to the Media Center's 8th Local Hero Award series, in which we showcase 6 people from the Mid-Peninsula for outstanding achievement or contributions to the community. We solicited nominations and were particularly looking for the unsung heroes. Each winner is an inspiration, and each has a great story to tell. In 1941, Gregory Novick was 13 and living in Leningrad when the Nazis surrounded the city in what is now known as the tragic Siege of Leningrad. He went to work finding and destroying firebombs and carrying ammunition to Russian gunners, for which he was later awarded a medal. After the war, he went to university and became an atomic engineer during the Cold War. Eventually, he emigrated to America at the age of 65, where he had to teach himself English. He has since become an institution among the local Russian Jewish community, as he helps hundreds of Russian Jews settle in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, Gregory was not available for an interview due to poor health, but we did have the opportunity to speak with his granddaughter, who also teaches immigrants at the Jewish Community Center.
During the siege of Leningrad, my grandfather was 13 years old, and he was in charge of putting bombs out. He had a small crew of children who also did the same thing. They would use buckets with sand in the buckets, and they were really in charge of physically putting the bombs out, which put them in danger. But something that you hear from Russian immigrants and Russian natives is that because of the sense of togetherness, they weren't as afraid as they were empowered. You know, they were empowered by the concept that we're protecting each other. And the sense of community has never left him. You know, whether the communist government mistreated its people is an entirely different issue, because it still instilled within him this sense of the common good and working toward the common good. During the Cold War, my grandfather worked as the dean of the mathematics department in a university that was widely known for working on secret government projects specific to technology. And the reason that that's so important is because technology wasn't a widespread concept during the Cold War. It was just starting out. It was just the seeds of it. And because America had so much money riding on research and development, and Russia really didn't, there were a lot of moments where technology did come from the United States into the hands of Russians, who then translated that technology and used it as if that was their research and development. So really, there were a lot of secret projects going on, and sometimes you'll see a movie about the Cold War and you'll think, oh, that's totally out there, or that's just a Hollywood story. But those Hollywood stories there's some truth to them. You know, there were secrets being stolen, and I think that my grandfather played a big part in that secret government kind of project. I think that there's an irony in the fact that my grandfather, as a Jew, was able to rise in the ranks of a Soviet-controlled school system. The state controlled everything, and I think that my grandfather has a very special way of being able to read a situation to figure out what can be done to get the best out of whatever situation you're in. And I think that his time as a dean was also shaped and formed by his time in the Siege of Leningrad, because the attitude that you have from all of these kinds of events is whatever's in front of me, I can find a way to either overcome it or move through it, find a way to the other side. And I think that's how my grandfather persevered, because he has an iron strength inside of him. And I think that knowing that for his family, for his future, and he doesn't necessarily identify so strongly with the Jewish national, like the concept that we are a nation, but I think that the concept of the Jewish community has always been very strong within him. And I think that for all of those things is what he worked for. You know, that was the purpose of not just surviving, but excelling. And I think that all of the difficulties that he endured, at any time someone said, you know, you're a Jew, or looked down on him for being a Jew, I think that in the same way he has taught me to live, I think that those things made him stronger and kind of fueled the fire that kind of pushed him forward. I think that the reason that my grandfather did so well in the academic system, even under the Soviet system, is because he's an extremely intelligent person. And I think that it is really his ability to analyze a situation, whether it be a social situation where he knows there are a lot of immigrants and they all need help, and that's the role he steps into, or in that mathematical situation where he's really analyzing a math problem. He has always been, from his oldest stories, from when he was a teenager, he's always not just been the smartest one in the room, he's always been the hardest working one in the room. And that's why I think that he has achieved what he has achieved. My grandfather's politics have changed over the years, and I think he started out viewing politics as a way to survive, not necessarily to work the system, but to get through the system and to help his family survive. And I think that over the years he's become very skeptical. I think he always was skeptical of the communist system, but you just weren't allowed to say that. For your safety, you wouldn't say that. And I think that when he came to America, when he got the chance to really be able to read and study what happened in the past, his attitude has changed into one of scholarly interest. He reads so many books and he really wants to know what truly happened, not what did the government told us happened or was telling us is happening, but what actually happened. I think that my grandfather has a very clear-cut idea of how people are supposed to act and how people are not supposed to act. And I think that human decency is at the core of the way he lives. My grandfather gives back to the community in the sense that everyone in the Russian community knows that if a new immigrant has arrived, they can always call Gregory Novick, and Gregory Novick will help them with the initial steps of moving forward and starting a new life. I think that the difficulties that my grandfather has faced and the issues that he had with being a Jew in Russia, now that those have been alleviated for him, I think that he recognizes the kind of fear that you see in someone's eyes when they first come to America. And so the difficulties that he faced have informed him in the sense that he has become the person who can alleviate those difficulties for other people. The work that I do at the JCC is very similar to the work that my grandfather does because both of us are focused on helping immigrants who have recently arrived. The women that I work with at the Jewish Community Center, because their issues are so basic, their vocabulary issues or pronunciation issues are so what they consider so crucial, because they haven't been able to kind of jump over those crucial issues yet, they're scared all the time. And the reason that I think it's so important what my grandfather is doing is that women like that, people like that, are looking for just one hook, one branch, something to grab onto to kind of stabilize them. And I think what my grandfather provides for the community is that tiny bit of initial stability that people need, someone that they know they can call on if the issue arises. That way they don't have to be so afraid of the issue arising. My grandfather came to America because his son had immigrated to America. And I think my grandfather has a sense of patriotism and was very attached to Russia. But I think that once my father completely decided to go to America, I think that my grandfather's sense of family was much stronger than his sense of patriotism could have ever been. And that's really how my whole family ended up in America. I think that my grandfather brought with him the sense of can-do. You have a difficulty in front of you, it's okay. We can surmount that difficulty. And in a very funny way, what he brought with him was what I call America. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that he brought with him the American spirit that is so inherent to our country. The hardest part about coming to America is that your spirit is timid. the fear puts you in a place where you don't want to reach out, and it's hard to have hope. The way that my grandfather functions in the community is that because he brings that initial stability, he also provides hope to those people who are so scared when they get here. That little bit of hope is the spark to the fire. That's how we go from being immigrants to Americans. You know, we kind of remember that can-do spirit that lives inside of us, and we find our community and we thrive within that community. But it's really always been about helping other people for him. My grandfather has an amazing track record of helping people with speeding tickets that they can't fight but need to fight. They don't have the language to fight this ticket. He helps people with housing situations. He helps people with doctor situations, whether it be contacting Medi-Cal and filing paperwork under Medi-Cal, or contacting Stanford Hospital and trying to figure things out with them. He helps a lot of people with their Social Security forms and all sorts of government forms that they need. Whenever people come to America and they're new in the community, everyone knows that my grandfather is the person to go to, and everyone will pass his information along to people who need it.
Do you know someone who has overcome significant hardship and has an inspiring story to tell? Someone who has sacrificed or given over and above to the community and deserves some recognition? If so, please contact us with your nomination for next year's Local Hero Awards. To find out more about our local heroes and to watch interviews with all the winners, visit our website, midpenmedia.org. At the Mid-Peninsula Community Media Center, you can make your own videos and television programs and take classes in all aspects of media production. You can also hire our professional services team. To find out more about that, go to mcproservices.com. Congratulations to all our winners, and thank you for watching.